thank you very much for tuning in. This is the first of a series of Transition Pathway Initiative videos filmed here at LSEG. I'm David Harris and I'm joined by a fantastic group of people who collectively lead the Transition Pathway Initiative. We have David, Simon and Carmen. Now let's start at the beginning. I remember back when a couple of pension funds came and approached FTSE Russell about being a data partner for the initiative back in 2016. But right from the outset, it was an investor-led initiative. And David, you were at a pension fund that became a very early adopter and backer of TPI. You're also now the chair of TPI. Can you tell us a bit about the objectives from investors in setting up TPI?
Sure, and thanks, David. I think the starting point for the Transition Pathway Initiative was the Paris Agreement in 2015. It became clear that the companies and assets in which pension funds and asset owners, asset managers invested in would need to transition. The problem was, we as asset owners, pension funds, had no way of knowing how they were transitioning, and what they were telling us was giving us an accurate picture of how they were doing that transition. So what we worked together to produce was a set of data that would help us in that analysis. But we wanted that data to be freely available to other users in the market. We wanted the processes that the data were collected and analysed to be transparent. We wanted the process to be academically rigorous and independent, so there was no influence on how the data were being produced. And that led us to be talking to Simon at the London School of Economics.
Thanks, David. Well, Simon, let's turn to you. I mean, you were there right from the start. Can you tell us about how this all got going from your perspective, but also the London School of Economics' role within this initiative?
Yes, David. Well, the London School of Economics' role is the academic partner of TPI. So we develop methodologies to assess the climate credentials of companies. We assess those companies against those methodologies. We host an open access online data tool, and we provide a range of resources for investors to use the data, like explainers, webinars and case studies. In terms of how it all got started, as David has mentioned, I always like to say TPI is the best idea I never had. It was the original group of TPI investors who came to us with the proposition that we could be the academic partner for the initiative. And I believe they did so because of our track record in undertaking research into the business and economic aspects of climate change, and also because we have a track record of hosting online data tools. I could personally immediately see the value in the idea of TPI, so I was happy to help support it and get it going.
Okay, well, so you and your colleagues played a huge role, but why did you really want to support this over all the other things that you could be doing?
Well, the founding purpose of the London School of Economics was for the betterment of society. And that really explains in a nutshell why we decided to get involved in this, because it was a platform for us to have an impact on the wider world beyond the walls of academia with our research, helping to support investor engagement on climate change and helping to shift capital towards the transition to net zero.
Thanks, Simon. Well, Carmen, can I turn to you? So, you head up the TPI Centre. You're the one who actually oversees and makes all of this happen. Can you tell us how that happens in practice, and can you tell us about the team?
Sure. The TPI Centre was launched in 2022 at the London School of Economics, really in response to growing demand for the research and product offering of the TPI. Our core strength remains the development of methodologies to assess various entities on their net zero pathways and climate action. I don't head the TPI Centre alone. I work very closely with Simon as a research director. He is the mastermind behind the whole project. But we also work very closely with an advisory board, a technical board, and a committee that looks at resources and development of the centre. And as demand for what we offer has grown, so has the team. When Simon started the project with David and other pension funds, they were working with less than a handful of analysts, and now the team is almost 5 times as big as it was. And we needed to do this because we have increased over time the companies that we cover, the sectors, that we cover, as well as the entities beyond corporates as such. And as Simon alluded to, we do this through forensic analysis, almost as we are known for the high quality of the products that we offer, because the team goes through all publicly available information that various entities release, such as corporate annual reports, sustainability reports, CDP disclosures, or in the case of sovereigns, it could be public budget documents or policy documents.
Well, you kind of mentioned sovereigns. Can you just explain what is the scope of coverage? And also, how does TPI connect up with Climate Action 100 Plus?
Sure. Our primary product offering remains focused on corporates. We assess corporates on two dimensions: carbon performance, which we do fully in-house, and management quality, which we do with FTSE Russell, which looks more at the governance around the target setting that companies put in place. When we talk about carbon performance, we're dealing with hundreds of companies. On management quality, we're talking about thousands of companies. And as we expanded, the coverage has become truly global. At the moment on carbon performance, we assess 11 sectors separately, and the fact that we do so through emission intensity and by sector is very important to investors because it allows for peer comparison. But we've also started looking at banks. We assess the largest world banks at the moment. And sovereign is a new field because that's also important to assess with the national determined contributions that countries are setting. It's important that investors start tracking and monitor the progress that sovereigns do as well. So the coverage has become 360 in a way. We assess a variety of entities beyond corporates. And I'm glad you mentioned Climate Action 100 Plus because this is an important part of the work that we do. Climate Action 100 Plus is the largest global initiative by investors who engage with the biggest greenhouse gas emitters. So when we curate for Climate Action 100 Plus the Net Zero Company benchmark, which assesses, as the name of the initiative says, over 100 companies on two components: disclosure and alignment with the Paris goals, and through a set of indicators, metrics, and sub-indicators. And we go at a deeper level than what we do with carbon performance and management quality, if you will. So we're constantly asked, because we serve a broad community of investors, we're constantly asked for more coverage or deeper coverage. So on Climate Action 100 Plus, we actually go deeper than what we do for carbon performance and management quality, but the assessments are complementary, I would say.
Thanks, Carmen. Well, what I'm really interested in is how this all has impact. So, David, I want to come back to you. What impact do you see TPI as having? And also, how do other asset managers, asset owners get involved in this?
Yeah, I think that the impact is the data are being used. So as Carmen has just talked about, the CA 100 Plus is a huge collaboration of investors using TPI data to guide how they're engaging, how they're trying to influence how companies are transitioning. But it goes beyond that. Investors are using it in their own right to guide their stewardship, their engagement activities with companies and sovereigns. Investors using it in voting, guiding how they vote on climate-related issues at companies at their AGMs. They're integrating TPI data into their investment decision-making processes so that they can build transition planning into their long-term investment decisions. It's also being built into indices. There's the FTSE Russell TPI indexes, which billions of pounds are being run against. So that use of the data is actually encouraging transition, and that's what we want. The end here is a transitioning world and transitioning companies so that we get to net zero, we reach the Paris Agreement in the end by 2050. In terms of supporting the TPI, using the data is obviously the first point, but it is possible to also become official supporters of the TPI, and more information about that's available on the website.
Well, thanks, David. And this really has been just a kind of a taster and an overview of TPI. To go further and to find out more, there's a series of other TPI videos that you can access on this webpage. There's also the website that David mentioned as well. So with that, I just wanted to say thank you to David, Simon and Carmen.